God damn it. Blizzard must have heard me yesterday. They must have taken to heart my depression corner, the copium collective we had at the end of the last video talking about the Shards of Domination. So a few things to talk about today, but most of them we are leaving for last because we have to start talking about the bigger addition, which is the strengthening of Blizzard, the buff to the Shards of Domination. So the result is that the Shards of Domination set bonus is now going to be much more powerful, somewhere in the realm of 3 times as powerful as it was before. This implicates a few things. Number one, it still doesn't implicate anything for Mythic Plus and for PvP. Remember, only the actual shards are going to have effect outside of the raid, whereas the set bonus, Bloodlink for Blood Shards, Winds of Winter for Frost, and Chaos Bane for Unholy, that is the only one that's getting buffed, and that is the one that is active in the raid. And as well, the Maw, Cortia, and Torghast, right? So that is the thing that's getting buffed, and that's the thing that we have to talk about, because we have gotten up to this point talking about this borrowed power system as it was a good one, a decent one, because it wasn't too powerful. I pointed out that, some people might have liked it, and some people might not, because some people dislike having their power tied to RNG. They dislike having their power tied to a borrowed power that, for example, is going to become outdated by the following tier. Something that Blizzard gives you and then you lose it the next tier, like take, for example, Benthic gear in Eternal Palace or Corruption, for example. As opposed to other people who might have enjoyed it because it gave, some new things, right? It changed a few of your priorities, a few of the usual things you do with your gear because you have this new system. Alternatively, you could have other people who like this because it doesn't frustrate you. Because it's not that powerful, you're not going to feel frustrated if you don't have it. You're not going to feel annoyed if you don't have the best possible version. Take, for example, a random Legion legendary. You, with your utility legendary giving you 0% DPS versus the guy she tells you not to worry about, who just looted a 10% DPS increase best in slot legendary. That was the time of Legion, and that was a system that frustrated people because of it. Some people might have enjoyed this new borrowed power in Shadowlands because the power was fine. We are talking about a 2% DPS increase, 3%. It's like, it's just a decent increase, but nothing major, so people were fine. Whereas some others might not have been fine because they considered it too weak. I have to go through finding pieces of gear with Shards of Domination, and then I have to get the shards. I have to use certain pieces of gear simply because of this bonus, which isn't even that powerful to begin with. Now, however, the landscape of this system is changing because the set bonus is being buffed massively. The 3 set bonuses you can have. You have Bloodlink. Bloodlink previously was doing 540 damage and then healing you for 100% of the damage dealt. Now at rank 5 is going to be doing 1620, so 3 times as much as it did before. You have Winds of Winter. Winds of Winter used to accumulate 6% of your crits up to 180 per every crit, and every 20 seconds the winds would unleash frost damage equal to the total amount of crits you have accumulated, and then also creating an absorb shield on yourself. These numbers have also been basically tripled. The accumulation of crits goes from 6 to 18% at max rank, and the actual maximum cap, the number, goes from 180 to 540. So proper 300% increase. Lastly, you have Chaos Bane. The primary stat gained by Chaos Bane goes from 10 to 30, and the max primary stat buff that lasts for 15 seconds goes from 300 to 900. So also a triple increase. So now these effects start having a pretty significant power increase. Just take Bloodlink, for example, which is the simplest one, because it only has one number as opposed to the other 2. Bloodlink is going to give you 1620 healing. Technically, it could be even more because it's going to be 1620 damage and then converted into healing for 100% of the damage dealt. So if the damage crits, if the damage is increased by versatility, if the damage is increased by, percentage damage increases, then the healing is going to be higher as a result. But even the base number, 1620 shadow damage, if you have 20 people in the raid with this, it's 32,000 shadow damage every 3 seconds, converted into healing every 3 seconds. So 32,000 every 3 seconds, it's basically a little over 10,000 HPS per second that you gain from this bloodlink, that the entire raid gains from this bloodlink. 10,000 HPS for people who don't dabble into healing is basically more than what your average healer will do throughout an encounter. It's like having an extra healer if everyone is playing with bloodlink. Whereas before the buff, this would basically be cut to a third, to 3,000 or so HPS instead of nearly 11,000. So now it starts to become very, very relevant, very, very powerful. Which brings us to the problem, which brings us to the depression center I brought you to yesterday. As we sit in a circle in our Copium Anonymous, we grab our tank of Copium and we start dealing with the fact that people don't have shards yet. People don't have gear with the sockets for the shards. So now you have the system where if you were annoyed before that you didn't have this one done and set, now you're gonna be 3 times as annoyed because now this set bonus is gonna be 3 times as powerful. Of course, there is one bright side to look at, which is the fact that the Shards of Domination are a one-time loot. So you don't consume them, you don't have to re-loot them. There is only 9 of them available, and once you loot one of the shards, you can't loot them again. So for example, let's say you have been unlucky and you looted 1 red, 1 purple and 1 blue so far. So you are far away from even getting a set bonus, but at the very least, you know that there is only 6 available shards left for you to even loot, because you already have 3 and there is 9 total. So you're not actually, when you look at it, that far away from looting all of them. And once you have looted all of them, that's it. What's left is upgrading them, but you're gonna have them in your bags forever, at the very least, until the end of this tier. Now, because of this, then it's worth mentioning a couple of things. Number one, the weekly event this week is the Timewalking event, which is mostly useless and nobody cares about it, and people are busy doing other things this week than doing Timewalking. However, remember that the reward for this week for completing the Timewalking dungeons is going to be a piece of normal loot from Sanctum of Domination. Yes, I know it's bad. I know it's just 226. However, at the very least, it gives you a chance to loot a piece of gear with the Shards of Domination in it. So if you're really looking for one, if you're really trying to get one, then you can do the Timewalking dungeons for a chance at it. Remember that since you reach Honored Reputation with the Death's Advance, which should have been a few days ago already, the rep vendor is going to sell you a 220 item level piece of gear with the guaranteed socket in it, a guaranteed Domination Socket. So that's already, 33% of all of the Domination Sockets you'll need, and you can buy one from the vendor. Now, Blizzard is buffing the set bonuses, making them much stronger. And as you have seen from the images, they have different tiers now, from 1 to 5. However, it's not that you can upgrade the set bonus. The way the set bonus is going to be empowered is by the level of your gems. The lowest level of your gem equipped will mark the strength of the set bonus. So if you have 1 gem at rank 5, the second gem at rank 5, and the third gem at rank 1, the set bonus level will be rank 1. The TLDR is that you need to upgrade your gems at the same time to stay within the same level, okay? Don't just Mongo rush the DPS gem to rank 5 because it's going to be pointless. What you care about now is the set bonus, so spread your upgrades. Upgrades which are given by Stygian Embers. You get 10 every week from the Shaping Fate weekly quest in Cortia, so right now you have at least 30 from the 3 weeklies we have gotten so far. That's a guaranteed. Then you can get 5 embers for killing the 5 mini bosses in the trash of Sanctum of Domination, and then you can get 2 embers from normal difficulty and up to 3 embers in heroic difficulty. So if you kill, for example, the Taragru in normal, you get 2 embers, and then if you re-kill it in heroic, you only get 1, because heroic gives you up to 3, but you had already gotten 2 from the normal one. So if you basically just kill heroic bosses and you don't do normal, it's gonna be 3 per boss. Now, even if you haven't gotten to Sylvanas, and even if you haven't gotten to Kaltuzada either, it's still gonna be something like 24 embers per raid clear plus the 5 from the trash mobs. It's almost 30 per week. You already have 30 because of the weekly quests so far. So right now, depending on whether or not you did normal or whether or not you did heroic, you should have from 70 embers all the way up to 90 plus embers. Now the upgrade costs of your shards are 5 embers for rank 2, 15 embers for rank 3, and then 30 and 50 for rank 4 and 5. So to upgrade them to rank 3, it's gonna cost you 20 embers per shard. You want 3 shards at rank 3, which means it's gonna cost you 60. So that is pretty good. It should be very simple for everyone to have gotten 60 embers to get 3 shards at rank 3, so your set bonus will be at rank 3 in power. Whereas next week, it might be possible for you, especially for the ones who have been cleaning heroic, to get all of your 3 shards at rank 4. And then it's gonna take you 3 extra weeks to get them all to rank 5. So, given that we have outlined the inner workings of this system, the question for today is whether or not you enjoyed this more than what it was before. So, would you have enjoyed it more if it was weaker, if it was not as important, if it wasn't giving you as big of a damage increase or healing increase compared to what it is now because, well, I don't have it. Well, I haven't gotten the loot for the shards or for the Domination Socket gear, so I'm not too worried about missing out because the powers are not that great. Or would you enjoy it more now that it has been buffed? So it's a borrowed power that is actually worth using and is pretty good and strong. In my opinion, it's still better the way it is now, even though it's being released in the wrong way. It's better the way it is now because at the end of the day, it is still very deterministic. The shards that you can obtain are just 9, and in a few resets, 2 or 3 resets, you should be able to get them all and then completely forget about them for the rest of the tier. You won't really have to loot any more of them. And even though now it feels bad that you don't have gear, it's not that you're going to be going weeks and weeks or months without having 3 Domination Socket pieces of gear, right? It should take you 2 resets. If you're really unlucky, it should take you 3. But after that, you will be set and you will have your sockets to put your shards in and get your set bonus. So I think it's better this way because the bonuses are powerful. They are a decent power increase for your character, so they're gonna feel nice and not too frustrating because they aren't very RNG, because there isn't one spec that works really well with this borrowed power and you don't have anything for your spec, for example, with things like essences in BFA or corruptions in BFA. This is much more simple. However, as I said, I think the distribution of the system, the release of the system was a little bit clunky and unnecessary to have it done this way. Now, to finish off the video, a few additions, a few mentions. The first mention is that the legendary bow, Reshalare for Hunters, actually has only one version, which is the normal version, the 233 item level version. Any increase generated in item level won't be by defeating Sylvanas at a higher difficulty and looting another bow at an increased item level, but simply looting the item. The items that were data mined that were used to increase the item level. So the Wraith Wisp Sinew to increase the weapon to 246, which is heroic item level, and then the Ethereal Fletching to increase it to mythic level 259. So yeah, even if you go and kill Sylvanas in heroic, you're still gonna be getting the legendary bow at 233, and then you have to wait and get the actual upgrade items, like if it was a Conduit, for example. Talking about the Conduit, we have something we have dropped a couple of weeks ago when it was first popping up, which is the Conduit upgrade coming from the Adamant vaults. It is now guaranteed, it is now confirmed that at the very least up to layer 11 of Torghast, which is the layer we are in right now, the maximum of this week is 11, 12 is going to be open next week. Up to layer 11, the only thing that is even remotely close to player power that you can get in the Adamant vaults is going to be the Deathbound Shard, which is your Conduit upgrade for Season 2. There is speculation, I'm going to say this, there is the possibility and the speculation that the layer 12 might unlock the socket item. So up to layer 11, the only thing you can get once a week from the Adamant vaults is going to be the Conduit upgrade, but on layer 12 you might get the extra, the socket piece. Now, This is not very important, it's not very powerful. Every class and every spec has 20 different conduits. You have 10 offense conduits, you have 6 defensive ones, and then you have 4 finesse, 4 utility ones. So it is very difficult to get any value from something like this. It would have to take you on average 10 to 12 of these to even get one of your actual conduits you want to use upgraded in the first place. So it's not something that is super crucial for your character. Not to mention, many conduits for many specs are very poor. They are not very strong in the scaling they have based on the item level, so it's not that this is super powerful. You shouldn't feel sad if you don't give a shit about trying to do the Adamant vaults every week, especially when what is also guaranteed isn't just that this is going to drop from the Adamant vaults, but that it's not even a guaranteed drop. So you might take the hassle to do a proper run of Torghast, get the 5-star rank, unlock the Adamant vaults, go in, and then still not loot this, because it's not a guaranteed drop. So don't really put too much effort into this. If you're not one of the very few specs that can have some super powerful conduits which are very strong to upgrade, and even then I wouldn't bother. They're just too small of an upgrade. You are literally, especially right now, you are literally much better off spending your time. If you wanted to upgrade your character, you're much better off just farming Mythic Plus, which is giving you 236 item level, which is much more likely to give you a decent upgrade than trying to get this one from the Adamant vaults. Now, to finish the video, I wanted to do it in Blizzard's style. I wanted to do it with an homage to Blizzard's methods, which is going to be the new item added from the Archivist Codex vendor in Cortia. The Treatise Bonds of Stygia Immortals. This treaty is going to reduce the Stygia loss when dying in the Maw by 75%, which is, you know, the classic Blizzard style. Add something that could have been useful the last tier into this tier, since right now you're basically getting into the Maw for about 40 minutes every week, 20 minutes for each assault you have to clear. Maybe if you have to walk to the raid entrance, and maybe if you're doing some rifts and get into Zoval's vault, maybe. And that's all you're going to be doing in the Maw, so it's pretty fitting that this item is being added into the game now that it has a much less relevant use. With this, we can stop. This was all. Thank you guys anyways for watching the video. And if you have enjoyed this, there is really no time. There is no time to go through with this. I have to leave right now. See you guys soon, and in the meantime... Where are my shoes? Fine, I will go out there.